You're listening to your brain on air. Program will begin shortly. Enjoy. Posloucháte svůj mozek na vzduchu. Program začne brzy, užijte si.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Your Brain on Air. I'm your host, Ollie Vogt Larson, and dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to get through this thing called life. Oh no, let's go. Minnesota parents charged, unfortunately, after child handed out THC candy at school. Moorhead police are saying, folks, the kids are getting based. The adults can't even keep up anymore. And I know you're sitting there as the parents right now, feeling safe, all safe and responsible. Maybe you lock up your gummies, but I'm just going to let you know, the kids are getting smarter these days. They're going to get into it. They're going to find your carts. They'll steal your mushroom gummies. Folks, kids these days are just in general built different. Ever since we started mainlining content directly into their veins with phones, TV, social media. I was watching Dr. Phil at like 12. So there's a famous case going around right now about this 11-year-old girl saving a 6-year-old girl from some guy trying to snatch her. My fiance showed me this clip on Instagram. Kids will just walk up to pedophiles nowadays and go, "Do you know him?" to the kid that they're snatching, and then they'll be like, "All right, no. They said they didn't know you," and then they'll pull them away from the predator. Folks, good or bad, whether you think releasing the files was a great idea or not, it's clear these kids have taken it to heart. They realize no one, not even the police, their own government, maybe even some of their own parents, wouldn't care if they were kidnapped. In fact, most of the time, it's their parents selling them or the government kidnapping your children to turn them into slaves, assassins, sleeper cells. They know it's all fucked. The kids know that the whole system it's a lie. The kids are getting smarter these days, and they can spot someone who's trouble from like a mile away. And god damn it, if they want your weed gummies, they're gonna steal your parents' weed gummies. Unfortunately, folks, there's positives and negatives to every situation. Maturity, it grants one confidence and the ability to spot danger, but it also makes one crave drugs, relief from the world, which is why cart use is exploding with kids. Euphoria is like a solid image of what is going on, unfortunately, in most high schools across this country. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. You know what I mean? Most people don't want to know that their kids are already drug addicts by the time that they're 8. It's just a fact. I don't want to be the one to tell you. Listen, it's a lot of kids with decent homes, loving parents, taking drugs, getting all Zendaya high to get away from it all. Folks, let's run this clip because this is just hilarious.
Mom and dad are facing criminal charges. This is after police say their kid brought THC candy to school.
Oh my God.
Horizon Middle School in Moorhead. The child gave the candy to a dozen classmates, and 2 had to go to the hospital. Others
he wanted his friends to have a good time. Okay, listen. Am I blaming the child for this whatsoever? Absolutely not. This is clearly an example of shit for brain parents.
When investigators suspected THC, they went to the parents' home and found much more.
Flowers, cartridges, and wax, along with psychedelic mushrooms.
Damn.
And large amounts of cash.
They love to party.
Police did arrest the parents. Investigators did not say whether the students knew there was THC in the candy. The 2 kids who went to the hospital are expected to be okay.
They're expected to make a full recovery, you guys, just in case you were too worried that these kids were gonna, not come back. I don't know. A lot of people think that. They think that you can lose your mind on weed, and some people do. Some people do, especially if you're kids, you know what I mean? So I'm glad that maybe they're holding them over to make sure that they're not gonna, go out and become schizophrenic in a few years, because inadvertently, people love to talk about the benefits of weed. I'm one of those people. Weed is a great thing for many individuals. However, we have to talk about the schizophrenia. We have to talk about the risks that it poses, especially to vulnerable groups, children, and people with underdeveloped brains. And not in the sense that they're retarded. I mean people that are under the age of 25. This is literally speaking. Some studies are saying that you shouldn't be considered an adult till you're 30. I don't know exactly what the research is behind most of those ones, but in all honesty, I think the pretty good set line that we have is 21. You know what I mean? I'm saying no drugs for the kids. Is that a controversial bit that I'm throwing out here? No drugs for the kids. I mean, I feel like I might get some pushback for that opinion, but in all honesty, I'm just looking out, Okay, and speaking of looking out, I want to warn you right now, don't go to the doctor. At this point, health officials, you know what I mean? I don't think that there's a point. It's like a 50-50 shot. You're going to die or get some diagnosis that you walked in there not having. Folks, if you don't know what I'm talking about, patients of a dental clinic currently are being urged in Philadelphia to be tested for HIV and hepatitis. Okay. If you don't know what I'm talking about, health officials in Philadelphia have issued an urgent warning from former patients of a Center City Dental Clinic, advising them to undergo immediate testing for HIV, hepatitis B, and hepatitis C. The city's health department is working alongside state regulators. They're taking a look at the step temporarily suspending the license of Dr. Kirti Chopra, terrible name, and shutting down her practices of Smiles at Rittenhouse Square. The shutdown followed an unannounced joint investigation triggered by several formal complaints regarding the facility's sanitation standards. So I covered a story about Pakistani doctors. Unfortunately, they were reusing needles. This was a children's hospital. There were examples of these people giving out vaccines, not like reusing needles. And I know that many people, they hear me fearmonger. They go like, well, it's not all doctors. We're Western. See, the thing about us is that we have this thing called school, and like doctors gotta graduate from there. That doesn't mean that they're gonna they'll still kill people like Michael Jackson, Matthew Perry. I can give you a list of celebrities, but it's perfectly fine, whose doctors are responsible for their deaths, criminally can be held responsible. Folks, even your own doctor cannot be trusted at this point. The state's investigation uncovered a series of alarming high-risk practices inside of the offices that officials called a clear and immediate danger to the public. According to official documents, the dentists admitted to routinely reusing single-use anesthesia vials across multiple separate patients, a practice that introduces a direct pathway for bloodborne pathogens if you're like dumb and you can't figure that out. Furthermore, investigators discovered that the staff members were using non-sterile gloved hands to handle medical equipment, failing to replace saline bags used for dental implants between appointments. They would literally just let it they would not replace that saline drip until it was empty, and employing an unapproved, ineffective cleaning method known as flash sterilization. We'll get into that in a second, but I don't know. Local health authorities emphasize that the actual risk of transmission remains low, and there are no confirmed infections linked to the site so far. They are simply taking no chances, and the health department is aggressively pulling records for every single patient treated at Rittenhouse Square Clinic between April 2025 and May 2026. To mail out formal warning letters, local health officials stress that bloodborne viruses like this, HIV, hepatitis, can live silently in the human body for decades without producing a single symptom, making early testing absolutely vital for long-term health and peace of mind. I'm just going to let you know, even if you don't think you've got it, if you went to the doctor recently, it's just for your own safety. Go get tested. Who knew that going to see your doctor would be as dangerous as having sex with a stranger in the Big 26?
And now the details. Some patients who went to the dentist recently now have to worry about whether they were exposed to HIV.
I might as well have a whore operate on my teeth.
And hepatitis. The health department says the possible exposure was at Smiles at Rittenhouse Square in Center City. And tonight the practice is closed and patients are being urged to get tested. Action News reporter Walter Perez live in Center City with those details tonight. Walter.
And Rick, health officials are contacting patients from Smiles at Rittenhouse Square who went to the clinic between April of last year until the present day. The reason is what health officials are describing as possible exposure to serious illnesses and viruses, including, as you mentioned, HIV. The investigation is ongoing, but Dr. Kirti Chopra's license to practice dentistry has already been suspended temporarily, and her practice, Smiles at Rittenhouse Square, has been shut down. And it all started after the state health department contacted the Philadelphia Department of Public Health.
They had received a complaint about this dentist and conducted an investigation. Our team went out with them to conduct an on-site visit to document the practices at the dentist office.
The ensuing inspection order goes into full detail about the findings. Those orders state that Dr. Chopra occasionally set aside used single-use anesthetic vials for reuse.
The whores of the medical world are doctors, ladies and gentlemen. They tell you whatever you want to hear. They do. Unfortunately, they will tell you whatever they want you to hear.
Dr. Chopra occasionally set aside
get in my chair
single-use anesthetic vials for reuse, and that she does not replace saline bags used for implant procedures until the bags are empty, just to name two.
Wow.
It ends up being a lot of possibility of transfer of bodily fluid between patients.
Health officials say even though the risk of exposure is low, Dr. Chopra's patients are being encouraged to test for exposure to hepatitis C, hepatitis B, and HIV. And attorney representing the practice sent Action News a statement reading in part, quote, Dr. Chopra will continue working cooperatively with public health officials regarding patient notification, testing recommendations, and any required infection control remediation.
Throw Dr. Chopra in jail. I'm so sorry. Dr. Chopra? Hold on. I'm going to look up the racial background of Dr. Chopra's name.
People who live in this part of Center City who say this is not something you'd expect when going to the dentist.
I am a little surprised because you would trust a medical professional.
You would trust a medical professional. Okay, Chopra surname is primarily of Indian origin, so she should be one of the good ones. Fucking, what are we talking about? We import most of India because their doctors are better than ours, or at least, you know, they have a better attitude than white ones. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I, like, breathe a sigh of relief when they come in with the very dentalized back of the throat D's. I feel so comfortable. I'm sorry, yeah, I do. I trust them a little bit more because I know that they had to work in order to get somewhere in their country. They had to actually study. It's not some, like, blonde bitch who's like, yeah, I just freshly graduated. This is my first year of practice and all this shit. Like, I'm immediately so nervous. I think she's gonna get she's gonna get a bubble in my vein. She's gonna, like, fucking inject me with some shit that's accidentally the wrong dosage. By the way, nurses who accidentally kill people should be thrown in jail for the rest of their lives. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck how accidental it is. I don't give a fuck how, like, you didn't mean to. If you got in the car drunk and you killed somebody, we're throwing your ass in jail. If you went to work where you took the Hippocratic oath to never do harm and then you just, oops, girl, but I just ditzy, foop, I didn't mean to end that 70-something-year-old man's life. We didn't really lose that much, right? Like, how much was he really dedicating to society? Like, and then nurses, like, all the time, they'll come out and they'll picket, they'll, like, protest for free her, she didn't mean to. She shouldn't have been fucking practicing. That's what she shouldn't have been doing.
Because you would trust a medical professional.
Because you're stupid.
I would assume that any dentist I go to uses the proper sanitation techniques.
Because you're stupid. If you just walk into any doctor at this point, any medical professional, and you're like, no, these guys are 100% qualified. COVID should have taught you that. Was that not the case? They're willing to risk your heart. They're willing to risk your life for a vaccine, ladies and gentlemen. You need to ditch this. You need to ditch it. You need to go all herbal. I'm sorry. I'm not saying you got to rub crystals together in order to heal yourself. I'm saying maybe have a little bit of sweat on your brow when you go to the doctor, because that sterile set of tools or whatever, you'd be better off going to, like, a Roman doctor to have them remove something. You'd be better off, like, having a simple brain surgery to remove pressure on the brain back in, like, 6 AD.
So that's pretty, absurd.
Pretty absurd. That's one way to put it.
A preliminary hearing is scheduled for next month. In the meantime, more information, including a patient hotline, can be found on 6abc.com.
Well, oops, some of them are just gonna be ditzy, guys. It's unfortunate. Sometimes they're just gonna, give you an injection that's gonna end your life instantaneously. Your life, the most precious thing in the world to you. And for some reason, we have this trend in our society that whenever a nurse kills somebody, literally ends a life, they can't even, like, serve 5 years. They can't even. Every nurse has to get out there and fucking bleed from the mouth, screaming, "Free her! She didn't mean to." She shouldn't have been a fucking doctor. She shouldn't have been a nurse, ladies and gentlemen. She shouldn't have been practicing medicine if she just was that bloodthirsty. It's the back of her brain that's bloodthirsty, because even if she didn't want to, she was not of sound mind enough. She was not mindful enough to check which fucking vial that she was putting that syringe into, pulling back the plunger. She had to go through every motion, and I just didn't think to look because I don't know. It's unfortunate. It sucks, but it's how it's going to go, and it's what you're going to have to deal with when you go to the doctor. I'm so sorry to say it. When the apocalypse comes, you don't need doctors on your team. You need, like, yourself, because you're probably just as qualified to remove your inflamed appendix as the next person is. Oh, I went to school for something years. You're probably going to nick me and you're going to cause internal bleeding. Get the fuck away from me. Get away from me with that black magic. That's disgusting. It's not black because it's from Africa. As a matter of fact, it doesn't. It's like the whole practice of putting people on tables and prying them apart. little finicky tools and all that. That's very Western. That's like a very Western idea. Sure, they pioneered a lot of medicine in the East, but like the core idea, like the transhumanism movement, all that sort of shit, where it's like we're doing implants of like we're doing like brain chips, we're doing contact lenses in the 2030s, where apparently you're going to be able to see like what speed you're traveling at, all this junk. That is very Western. It's like the implement your body with technology type shit. It's evil. It's disgusting. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about something else. For example, Seattle city leaders are facing mounting pressure to declare a first-of-its-kind civil state of emergency as a massive influx of LGBTQ residents pushes local resources to the brink. The city's LGBTQ commission, they have that, has sent an urgent letter to Mayor Katie Wilson and the city council warning that Seattle is facing an unprecedented humanitarian crisis. What are we talking about? Advocates say thousands of transgender and queer Americans are actively fleeing conservative states. Why? They think they're going to be thrown in camps. They think they're gonna really be thrown. Oh, sorry, yeah, we're gonna bring back Japanese internment camps for annoying people on Twitter. That's really what this government is interested in doing. Texas, Florida, and Idaho. Oh my God, are you fucking kidding me? Libertarian Idaho. All right, whatever. Due to recent anti-trans legislation, where it's like, oh, they're not able to have their choice of gender on their state ID. Caitlyn Jenner is able to get past this. She's perfectly fine having an M on her government ID because she realizes we all love her for the woman she is on the inside. She's able to just suck it up and deal with it, ladies and gentlemen. And restrictions on gender-affirming healthcare, which is just code word for, in certain instances, I'm in favor of, if you want to take estrogen, if you want to pump yourself with testosterone when you're above the age of 18, go for it, buddy. That's none of my business. However, the moment you start insinuating, even hinting at the idea that we need to be fucking with children's bodies with these chemicals, I want you out. I want you out of the. You can't be debating this. You are not sound of mind. You're not sound of body. You need to be removed from the debate. The rapid migration has triggered a severe resource bottleneck at local nonprofits. They say they can no longer manage the situation alone. Mutual aid networks and LGBTQ community centers report that the demand for emergency financial assistance, of course, it's like, give me money, legal support and transitional housing has skyrocketed over the past year. Okay, this massive influx, by the way, we saw this with Renee Good, like these nuts who moved to Canada. Renee Good, by the way, the bitch who got shot. It's unfortunate, she, we don't, you called her a bitch. I don't, whatever. What am I supposed to do about it? She's the one who gotten herself into the situation. She shouldn't have involved herself. She was a part of this mass migration where people, for some reason, thought that gays and trannies, even though they're showing up playing golf at Mar-a-Lago, the Peter Thiel is gay, guys. Come on, let's get honest here. The people who are running the New World Order, who want to integrate systems of technology into your body, they're just as queer as the rest of you. So don't knock it off, all right? It's not this evangelical Christian nation. Everybody thinks The Handmaid's Tale is coming where, you want to talk about the idea that they're going to force women to have babies? They do that in certain countries. You want to talk about realities in other countries? Yeah, I'm perfectly fine to talk about that. It's like they have no visual context of the world around them. They just think that everything in their country is the center of the world. This place is about to become Gilead. There's no chance for them. Like, how are we going to be able to smoke pot and get abortions now? It sucks. It's unfortunate. Okay. Apparently, they're completely outstripping their available capacity for these things, like the financial assistance, legal support, and transitional housing. Commission members warn that if the city does not step in with an emergency declaration before the peak of the summer season, critical mutual aid networks, food banks, and temporary housing systems could dry up entirely. Why do you need it? I'm just asking, why do you need it? Why wouldn't you have stayed? Why couldn't you have stayed in so-and-so Texas? Wait a minute. Is the only reason you have to move a state because on your government ID, it does not respect something that inarguably is not true? So you may identify however you'd like. Unfortunately, when you were born, you had a thing between your legs. You had something that defined you as a male or a woman, a man or a woman, a male or a female. There you go. You, unfortunately, according to the current administration, am I saying I'm happy about it? Am I happy that they're restricting how many genders you're allowed to identify as? No. But I'm just happy that I'm one of the ones that they decided to keep. I'm just being honest with you, ladies and gentlemen. If Mayor Wilson moves forward with the declaration, it would unlock emergency contingency funds. See, that's the key. That's the key. They want money, 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 money. That's what they want. They want it passed down. It is a massive transfer. They want it for, in all honesty, there was no actual reason these people could not have continued to stay in their home state. In reality, a lot of these people are moving because they think their marriages are going to be dissolved. They think that Obergefell v. Hodges is going to be overturned, which, by the way, it's not going to have any sort of effect because the majority of states in this country have legalized gay marriage on a state level. So that's another unrealistic threat that many people are going to try to put out there. Listen, Amy Coney Barrett is not as terrifying a judge. She's not going to take away interracial marriage. Enough, everybody. Amy Coney Barrett is not this fucking witch everybody portrays her to be. She's a lot of the times, you know what I mean? She has a moral code about her. Do I agree with everything that she says? Just like Justice Brett Kavanaugh, I'd love to have a beer with him. I don't feel like I'd understand every one of his perspectives, but god damn it, he is fun to watch on that bench.
Seattle leaders say they're facing growing calls to do more as members of the transgender and queer communities relocate here from other states.
Can one of them please, if they're going to be talking on the podium, can one of them show up without crazy dyed hair? The moment I see crazy dyed hair, I see gauges, I see like the like tops that have like lace and all this shit, or like if I see one like assless chap, you gotta go. I'm sorry. This is not a place for public comment when you come in looking like a cartoon.
Seattle LGBTQ Commission has sent a letter to Mayor Katie Wilson asking her to declare a civil state of emergency. Fox 13's Alejandro Guzman spoke with a trans woman who left Texas and asked her why she believes these resources are so important.
Please look normal.
Seattle's LGBTQ community is growing by the thousands as trans and gender nonconforming people are seeking refuge in the city of Seattle. But advocates warn that the organizations helping them find their footing here could run out of resources by the summer. For decades, Capitol Hill has been a cultural and historic hub for Seattle's LGBTQ community. Advocates say they're seeing an increase of people coming here from more conservative states, hoping for a chance to live more openly and freely. For Jessa Davis, is it safe to say that you sought refuge here in Seattle?
Absolutely. That was the absolute intent.
Jessa moved to Seattle.
This bitch is maybe in her 20s, and she has these like big dangly, these big like chain things hanging on her glasses. She's got these, nicely pierced ears, whatever. Like got like 3 earrings for some reason, like some of those big black lady ones, and then some of those little tiny diamond white girl ones. Like, and also the gray hair is so revealing. This is a person who's deeply unhappy with life. And by the way, when it comes to the fact you can say, oh, they're deeply unhappy because maybe they weren't recognized for their gender wherever they lived. You can give me as many excuses as you'd like. I understand that these people have any motivations for feeling however they do. I see this as an absolute con to get a state's money, a city's money, quite frankly, that I need to hear your perspective. Give me a reason why you had to flee from Texas because that you were going to be dragged into a gulag or shot. Tell me.
3 years ago from Odessa, Texas, the place where she transitioned, but it was also the place where she says she no longer felt safe.
How so?
Jessa says she stayed in the closet for years, but the emotional toll became too heavy.
I was just like, I don't care, about anything more than, trying to alleviate this just sense of dread.
But she says coming out to herself and others came at a cost.
It was scary. I lost friends. I lost colleagues.
That's unfortunate.
I lived with the daily threat of violence.
Seattle LGBTQ Commission Chair Chris Curia says organizations helping trans and queer people relocate are struggling to keep up with the demand for basic things like housing, food assistance, and mental health support.
It's people coming to our region by the thousands.
I couldn't live my life being afraid of my state government in Texas.
Because of stories like Jess's, the Seattle LGBTQ Commission has asked Mayor Katie Wilson to declare
a state of emergency. What the fuck?
Community organizations rapidly losing resources that could run out by the end of the summer.
Mayor Wilson says she's launching an interdepartmental team to fast-track what the needs are by August.
I am happy with the mayor's response as a starting point.
I have a wonderful idea. I have a wonderful, wonderful idea. If you can't afford Seattle, don't move to Seattle. Even iCarly knew that, ladies and gentlemen. If Spencer Shea couldn't afford that apartment, he shouldn't have been living in Seattle, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, you can go find any typical little Schitt's Creek type town in the middle of somewhere Oregon. You can find these places in Littlesville, Minnesota. There are really these types of places that are queer allied, whatever you'd like to call them. They're everywhere. You can find them. You can even find them in Texas, unfortunately. I'm not saying unfortunately because I disagree with it. I disagree with maybe aspects around the children debate because, of course, I think that it's ridiculous giving the mental idea to someone below the age of 18 that they're smart enough to understand fundamentally, who they're going to turn out to be. They don't get masculinity or femininity. These are people who grew up without examples of gender norms. These are people who grew up without examples of what to expect from men and women. It's unfortunate. It's these sort of homogenized ideas. By the way, these rates exploded around the time that you saw single motherhood rates explode. Am I blaming single mothers for the fact that a lot of their kids are turning out trans? No. Or gay? No. It's not your fault that your kids are turning out this way. It's unfortunate that there's not solid enough, maybe they don't read, maybe they're not getting solid enough examples of what the world has viewed as the traditions of the biology we've been granted by the universe. Femininity and masculinity exist in aspects in every one individual person. A man can feel a little bit more feminine a certain day. A woman can feel masculine. It's these weird things that are, people don't really fully know how to comprehend. They don't know how to rationalize it in their mind. Gender dysphoria has been a recognized a mental illness for the longest time. We get it. We understand it. We see what it is. And sure, there's evidence in the modern age that people maybe they don't kill themselves as often if they're living in an apartment and you call them Jess instead of Jake. Maybe there's some evidence to that. But am I saying that maybe Seattle needs to, empty its pockets for everybody? No, of course not. Listen, if you want to find home, you're going to have to make it somewhere. You're going to have to, home is where you make it, that, as they say in Joe Dirt. I just want to make that clear, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not against the idea of trans people, LGBT people living wherever they want, although a lot of the things that they are panicking about when it comes to this Trump administration, they don't realize it's staffed by some of the gayest people you'll ever talk to or meet in your life. In all honesty, the Peter Thiel vision of the world that's coming to fruition, where clavicular is getting young men to make themselves look more rapeable, it's making men care more about female appearance, it's making men care more about how they feel, it's creating this miniature makeup market for men, and they're ditching the idea of, women nowadays, maybe they don't love to wear nearly as much makeup, but men, you also need it a little bit too. Peter Thiel is, by the way, paying out clavicular. Many people don't even realize that, to influence younger men into thinking they need to do a lot in order to make themselves look good. In all honesty, folks, I do nothing with my face, with my facial muscles, I don't bone smash, I don't do none of that shit. Could I mog clavicular to death? Probably, because I look like one of those people that smoke, and I look like one of those people that's just sort of aged like a newspaper, but in a way it's classier, and it's nicer to look at than this plasticky image that a lot of people are chasing after. Whatever. Ladies and gentlemen, Seattle, make up your mind if you'd love to declare a civil state of emergency. I don't think it's entirely warranted, in all honesty. I don't think that we're to the degree where other states are threatening people's lives or their ability to live, quite honestly. We're not to that point yet. I know many people want to get to that point, or in their minds they want to feel like they're in a Hunger Games movie. They want to feel like they're the main character in defeating this tyrannical, President Snow government. Shut up. Yeah, you gotta have a little less ego around this situation. It's not all that. It is all that in a certain sense, where it's like, oh yeah, this guy did watch a child sacrifice and throw the child into Lake Michigan. You can look it up for yourself if you want to confirm that. That's totally chill. There's truth and there's aspects to everything, ladies and gentlemen. Live your true, authentic self. Can we admit, though, that maybe the idea of drag queen story hour isn't a great one? The idea that we introduced kids to this lurid, this lurid world of sexualized dress up and costumes and whatnot. Yes, kids, they love clowns. They love all of those sort of fun things. I don't think the clown needs to have big fake tits or a big fake ass or these over exaggerated, like big hair and all this sort of shit. It's in all honesty, I don't see how women don't view it as like a mockery of their gender, because it's literally parading yourself around like a false woman. You're like pretending to be an exaggerated form of femininity. Gay men, by the way, are able to get away with a lot more shit when it comes to making fun of people. Billy Eichner is one of the prime examples you see of it. He's just an asshole who runs around yelling in people's faces, but he's like, I'm just gay and mean and that's my personality. It works for some people. It doesn't work for all of them. Folks, I want to jump into the rapid fire section of today's headlines. Lots of things you need to know about in order to keep your media diet healthy, folks. Not just, unfortunately, the fact that trans people are being chased into Seattle. I feel for them. If they really feel that amount of fear, it's terrible. Meta's mass layoffs are becoming the tech giant's latest move towards just completely autonomizing their workforce, everything. I hate the fact that there are many people that are all in with the AI boom. It's not just AI CEOs. It's not just the people that work at Facebook. There's people that are I use it for projects all the time. I use it at home. I use it for all this. But then they have the audacity to complain that they don't like it. I would love to get my opinion about AI out there right now. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's happening. Do I feel like it's a great idea? Probably not. Do I feel like it's decent for what they want to talk about? Kevin O'Leary wants to go, the medical applications, the this, the that, the. I know that you're only constructing that 3 times the size of Manhattan data center so that you can advance your police state that you're working with Donald Trump to establish. Mark Cuban, by the way, is working with Donald Trump now on Trump RX. The whole Shark Tank crew is getting involved right now with the Trump administration, it seems like, except for Robert Herjavec. I actually maybe want to look that up before I have egg on my face, but still an interesting thing to keep your eye on. Let's take a look at Meta's massive layoffs.
Meta is slashing its global workforce. The tech giant says it's shifting money and staff toward, you guessed it, artificial intelligence. The company told employees in April that these job cuts were coming. Meta began laying off 8,000 employees yesterday.
Sorry.
10% of its workforce. Another 7,000 workers will be reassigned to new AI-related teams.
Sucks.
Hugh Langley joins us now. He covers tech news as a senior correspondent for Business Insider. Hugh, good morning and welcome, joining us from London. Explain for our viewers how these cuts compare to Meta's previous layoffs and if it's really all about AI.
Give it.
So Meta has made a few cuts over the last few years. 2022, 2023, it cut roughly 20,000 employees. Now, at the time, some of that CEO Mark Zuckerberg blamed on too much hiring through the pandemic, and then this push towards being more efficient. AI was around, but it wasn't really front and center of the conversation. What's striking, obviously, this time around, the company cut around 8,000 employees this week. What's striking is that obviously AI is far more central to the conversation.
Hey guys, I know what it's like to lose a job to AI. It sucks, but you know what? You're going to deal with it, and you're going to come out on the other side 10 times better. I bet every one of these Meta employees is getting involved on every, weasel, they are involved in the scheme until they get betrayed by the scheme, and then they start going out and trying to expose the scheme. Much like Elon Musk's girlfriend. What's her name again? Elon Musk's girlfriend, Ashley St. Clair, this bitch who was like, she says the owner of X alluded to using advanced technologies in the 2024 election, along with gaining sensitive information about voting. And she only, by the way, is mentioning this now because she is in an argument with him because she does not like him currently. So, it's a bitter X thing. She doesn't care about you. She doesn't care about the fact that he is affecting your life personally. She really is just like, I just want to expose him. So fuck him, whatever. I'm sure that all of these Meta employees are going to do the exact same, where it's like they were perfectly fine servicing the end of the world until they got bit in the ass.
That are being had around these cuts, and also that Meta is performing very well. I mean, the stock price is up a considerable amount over 2023 and the company continues to have quarter after quarter of really good earnings. So it's not about company performance, but yes, a lot of the focus being put on AI and the vast amount of money that Meta is investing right now, specifically in CapEx, it's spending extraordinary amounts of money to build out the infrastructure to support AI. And in the note to employees this week, the laid off staff were told this is happening because we have to, offset these other investments.
And
okay, the capital expenditures that we're looking at for Meta in 2025 was $72.22 billion, and now for this year they're looking at an increase to $115 to $135 billion.
Viewers understand the connection between layoffs and Wall Street, because usually when a company even announces a reduction in its labor force, its stock value increases. And what I'm hearing from a lot of Silicon Valley folks who get the boot is that sometimes they're called back to help baby the AI systems they're being replaced with because they do hallucinate and cause some mistakes. So is it a bit more complicated than it seems?
It's a bit more complicated, and it also depends on the company. We're seeing a lot of layoffs right now across the tech sector. Some of it is being blamed directly on AI, with CEOs saying, yeah, we're doing this because AI is able to take up some of the work now. Some of it is being a little more hidden, words like investments and things like that are being used. In the case of Meta, look, what's fascinating about this company in particular is CEO Mark Zuckerberg has been on a really aggressive push to make the company as what he calls internally AI native. He has this vision of basically cutting out middle managers, almost getting rid of a lot of managers entirely, smaller teams working more with AI, and trying to be more efficient that way. So, but to your point, they need the AI to work, right? You mentioned about people coming back to work on these models and baby them somewhat. So, something that's really happening right now, you mentioned 7,000 people this week inside the company are also being redeployed to work specifically on AI tooling. A lot of this is going to be around tools that Meta is using internally and the models internally, but also the models that they are selling to customers and enterprise.
I love when you manufacture your own downfall. It's one of my favorite aspects of people, and that's perfect. Listen, they're going to figure it out. They're going to figure it out, ladies and gentlemen. They are a part of the team that, by the way, when it comes to Meta, have your sympathy be limited. This is not a like Spirit Airlines layoff. You're not watching not a barista. You're not watching a stewardess. Is that what you're allowed to call them these days? I don't know. I still wish that they weighed them, in all honesty, because I've seen I've had porkers serve me, unfortunately, men and women. I've had men where I'm like, you're too big to be a stewardess, and I'm going to call you a stewardess because that's the only term that I'm familiar with for this profession. I'm sorry if that a steward was that. Whatever. Doesn't matter to me. I'm not going to change my opinion on it. But this is not a stewardess getting laid off who has rent due at the end of this month. We're dealing with people who were actively involved in creating systems that made them more addictive to your mind, your children's mind, pressed you ads forth that they hit up, they switched during the election. They were like, we're going to support Biden this year. No, we're going to lean towards Trump this year. It doesn't matter, by the way. They're going to be supporting what's his name, Gavin Newsom, when he wins, or Marco Rubio. It doesn't even matter. Tucker Carlson when he decides to win. It doesn't even matter, ladies and gentlemen. I say this. Meta employees, new and fresh to the workforce, welcome to the struggle. Welcome to the fun. Get familiar with cleaning office buildings, because that is the best that you're going to hope for, ladies and gentlemen. You're going to be servicing, you're going to be servicing. That is what you're going to be doing. You're going to know what it's like to bring yourself low. You are going to be down in the dirt with the rest of us. You built these computers, you bastards. You were a part of this whole thing. Meta employees, hi, maybe you're listening to this. If you were recently let go, I'm sorry that it happened to you, but also fuck off. It's okay. It's understandable. Cry into that pile of money that you managed to make that is honestly going to last you, maybe if you're lucky, till the end of the month. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about, hey, bitch, I was talking. TikTok star is accused of murder for hire plot to kill father of her child.
Accusing a TikTok star of trying to hire somebody off the dark web to kill her ex while they were in the middle of a bad custody battle. She's now facing attempted murder charges. Gabriela Gonzalez, you see here, she's 24, 500,000 followers online. Prosecutors say her dad and her then boyfriend were also involved in what they say is a murder for hire plot. Apparently it all fell apart because they ended up talking to an undercover cop who was posing as a hitman. So, not a hitman, a law enforcement officer. Gonzalez is now out on a $2 million bail. We've reached out to her attorney for comment, but we haven't heard back. Chloe Malas is following this story for us.
She's a TikTok star, but she has 2 million sitting around for bail. I don't believe that. I think we're looking at another Epstein situation. Whatever. Another a sad bit of news. The Heart Attack Grill in downtown Las Vegas. I loved this place only for the fact that they were the most honest food business. They were like, come on over here if you want to die. We want to hurt you. The owner repeatedly was like, I don't care if people are going to die in my restaurant. I love that. I love when people are direct. I wish the McDonald's CEO was more like this gentleman, just saying, hey, death is good for business. I'll say it again. Death is great for business at the Heart Attack Grill. This man, he was servicing the community because he was teaching lessons. He would have someone, if you're over 350 pounds, by the way, he would let you eat there for free. Keep that shit up. I want the shame campaign. You get the person up on the scale, we give you a shirt, we make you feel all happy, and then the person goes home. And they realize, wow, the only reason that everybody cheered me on is because I was a fat pig, and now I just get to sit here and feel all fat. That guy was changing lives. There were people on his review page saying, I've lost this much weight since my last visit, Dr. Vuso or whatever his name was, because he dressed up as a doctor. He wasn't a real doctor, but it was for the bit. And I love this man. I think that he needs to be his image needs to be furthered, his message needs to go further. Ladies and gentlemen, more Heart Attack Grills should be opening. I don't think they plan to stop anytime soon. Let's hear this.
Downtown Las Vegas has closed after 15 years.
Damn.
The restaurant, infamous for its quadruple bypass burgers, large outdoor scale, those 350 pounds or heavier ate free, and hospital theme, closed at 9 a.m. Monday.
Damn.
The owner of Neonopolis confirmed the shutdown. A statement on the restaurant's website blamed high prices, corporate greed, and a city that has excluded the middle class. The statement also says Heart Attack Grill is seeking new opportunities to continue our high-calorie mission.
Good. The high-calorie mission to wake bitches up. To wake bitches up. To let them realize, oh yeah, maybe everything I do put in my mouth hole does kind of show up on my body somewhere. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not trying to be a shameful individual. I'm trying to help people because they need help. I needed help. When I was 280-something pounds, I needed somebody to just grab me. I needed someone to grab me and just go fucking knock it off. You're being greedy. You're being gluttonous. You're being selfish. You're being lazy. You are being the lesser of yourself. You are putting yourself down. You're putting your family down. You're putting everything down. I needed that, ladies and gentlemen, and the Heart Attack Grill offered that to people who went and visited it. It was a beautiful message, and I hope that he is able to find a home for it. Woman arrested in Dallas-Fort Worth area after a Facebook post over water concerns. So, if you don't know, your local government, I'm saying this as somebody where my local government, my local police force could show up because they hear my show, hear something that they don't like, and they come up and go, hey, yeah, are you making some comments about this that we don't like? A woman in Henderson County was arrested earlier this month after she made a Facebook post about concerning water issues in the small town of Trinidad of Texas. Now we get to sit down with the woman and hear her side of the story because, in all honesty, the water looks filthy. Do you realize though that I could be pulled up on? I could be pulled up on by local city and local government if they just don't like what I'm saying. They can come up and have their goons, their local police force, come knock on their door and intimidate me. By the way, if that ever does happen, I will happily record it and I will post it everywhere on the socials.
A woman says she was arrested after posting health and safety concerns about a city's drinking water on Facebook. It happened in Trinidad in Henderson County, southeast of Dallas. People who live there say the tap water sometimes looks and smells unsafe. When one woman shared her take on Facebook, the police department arrested her.
Yep.
And now she's suing.
Yep, you try to bring attention to something concerning in your community, your local police force will arrest you. Local police officers are only pawns, unfortunately, in a lot of the service to the people they don't even realize. Many of these cops, by the way, are Freemasons. A lot of cops on local police forces are Freemasons. If you don't believe me, ask them.
David Centenary is live with more from that city. David.
Yeah, well, some city leaders say there are issues with the water system and that there has been for quite some time. However, one woman's claim posted to Facebook that the water is making some people sick led to her being arrested.
How?
Did you ever expect something like that Facebook post could get you arrested? Not at all.
A Facebook post made by Jennifer Combs, a white...
We have received reports that some citizens have been hospitalized due to bacteria in the water. This is a serious public health concern that deserves immediate attention. If your water looks discolored, contains sediment, or a strong odor, you have experienced related health issues, please send us a message. We are gathering information and reporting findings to the state. This is from her, I believe. It's called Southern Bell Watch. We are aware that not all areas of Trinidad are experiencing this issue. However, if your water is affected, your information could help identify the patterns and ensure the problem is addressed properly. Please include your area or neighborhood, no exact address needed, photos or video evidence of the water if available, dates and times the issue have occurred. I'm sorry. Any notices you may have received, any health concerns you are willing to share, any information you can help bring attention to the issue is appreciated to help improve the water quality for everybody. If you have any information or your water looks like this, please send us a message.
Mother and citizen journalist led to her arrest by Trinidad Police Department on May 8th. Did you have to spend the night in jail?
I did.
They whole out arrested her.
Horrifying. Absolutely horrifying.
And you've never even had a speeding ticket?
I have not.
Wow.
Ever had a speeding ticket?
Me neither.
One of the most probably humiliating things I've ever went through in my entire life. It was very, very bad.
So what was the Facebook post about? The city's water supply.
The best way I could describe it is it looks like the Trinity River is flowing from their water taps.
The post from her page Southern Bell Watch reads, in part, "We have received reports that some citizens have been hospitalized due to bacteria in the water. This is a serious public health concern that deserves immediate attention. If your water looks discolored, contains sediment, has a strong odor, or you have experienced related health issues, please send us a message. We are gathering information and reporting findings to the state."
And then obviously the city had to step in and be the city and go, damn you for pointing out any level of unsafety that we are letting slip by. Fuck you.
The police chief had screenshotted it and posted it on the Trinidad Police Department page.
The April 6th post by Trinidad Police calls what Combs wrote false information that creates fear, panic, or unnecessary emergency response in a community, eventually charging Combs with felony false alarm or report.
Fuck
I feel like
you.
This is an extreme stretch.
So here inside Trinidad City Hall, the water looks clean, but some say it's a fluid situation depending on where you're at and when.
Bathtub
What would you describe
pumping out brown water. That's this. Oh my God.
the water situation right now?
The city's water situation is a struggle, without question.
Mayor Dennis Hawes says so.
Mayor Dennis Hawes does not dispute that they have water issues.
A lot of this stuff is original pipes that were put in here in Trinidad in the 50s, probably. We have to get to a position where we can fix that infrastructure, and it's very expensive, as I'm sure you can imagine.
On Wednesday, the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality confirmed to Fox 4 that it received a complaint regarding the water quality and an investigation is ongoing. It's unclear whether anyone has gotten sick from the water.
I've seen some Facebook posts where people have said they have gotten sick, but to me personally, I haven't heard anything.
In a post on May 10th, Trinidad...
So wait, you've seen your citizens posting about it, but you personally haven't seen anything. What are you saying?
Police Chief Charles Gregory doubled down on his decision to arrest Combs, calling the case cut and dry. He says claims citizens were hospitalized due to bacteria in the water are simply false and have only caused unnecessary fear and confusion in our community.
How about fuck you, Trinidad Police Department? How about you have concerned citizens and your absolute Freemasonic dismissal of individuals' concern just so you can prance about with the people's money is absolutely unforgivable. You should be subpoenaed. You should be investigated.
Anything like this before, David?
SMU constitutional law professor Dale Carpenter questions if a crime was committed and believes Combs' First Amendment rights may have been violated, even if it turns out Combs' post was inaccurate.
She's making a statement regarding a matter of great public interest, and so people sometimes make false statements on matters of great public interest, and they're allowed to do so.
Yes, they are.
If we prosecuted and arrested everybody who made such claims, our jails would be overfilled.
They would be.
Chief Gregory was not at Tuesday's council meeting, but the water issue was a topic of conversation.
The reason why everyone is here and the reason why Fox 4 is here is because your city is acting like tyrants.
They are.
Stands behind her post, and in a federal lawsuit filed Tuesday, she accuses the police chief of political retaliation related to her work as a citizen journalist.
Nice.
She claims multiple citizens made social media posts stating that they had personally been hospitalized or affected as a result of consuming the city's water.
I don't agree and don't think it's fair that the citizens pay for water they can't really use.
The lawsuit adds, speech about the safety of a community's drinking water is a quintessential matter of public concern entitled to the highest degree of First Amendment protection.
Yeah, police in general, in local, your city probably, they all need to be checked. Most of them have an ego they haven't earned or deserved. You go to most of these police stations, they're all sitting on their hands. They're all, most of the time, not doing anything. Like, oh, what about that child rape? Oh, what about that murder, that dismemberment down in that neighborhood? You expect us to get them? It happened at night. Like, nobody saw. That's, like, the majority of cases, by the way. But people like to pretend that we live in a surveillance state. If you kill somebody nowadays, it's like still 50-50 whether or not you get caught.
Appliances are getting ruined. They can't cook with the water. They can't bathe with it. They can't do laundry. A lot of them feel hushed and like they don't have a voice, and no one listens to them and no one takes them seriously.
The police chief has not responded to a list of questions we sent over to him via email. He is listed as a defendant in this federal lawsuit. So is one of his officers, a city council member, and the city of Trinidad.
Well, if I get a knock on my door, ladies and gentlemen, for voicing any concerns about my community, you'll know what happened. We all know. Let's talk about other things concerning, ladies and gentlemen, other very concerning things. The government is able to lock you up for posting about your city's water quality. However, individuals, that were exposed to maybe Ebola, that were maybe exposed to hantavirus, it's optional as to whether or not these people want to go home and self-monitor. Maybe not for the Ebola case. I mean, for the Ebola case, we're taking it a bit more serious. I was being facetious, haha. But for the hantavirus situation, we allow it. It's a free. You're welcome to go. Now, after weeks of pressure from civilians, the public, the CDC is now saying that the Americans quarantining in Nebraska are being, after being exposed to the hantavirus, are not allowed to leave. Finally, they're saying that they're not allowed to leave. After initially saying that the quarantine was voluntary, this as the WHO monitors hundreds of suspected Ebola cases in an outbreak in Africa. And apparently we had a plane on our way to Detroit, the Motor City, with an individual who might have been exposed to Ebola. So that plane was diverted. How fun. And it's still probably, the other passengers on there, they are still, don't get it twisted. If you were on a plane with a guy with Ebola, we might just let you out we might just let you go. We might let you go.
Tonight, 2 American passengers exposed to hantavirus on this cruise ship blocked from leaving this Nebraska hospital. The CDC confirming it's now implemented quarantine orders and is requiring all 18 passengers remain in isolation here until at least May 31st. This after the New York Times reported a passenger named Angela Perryman, who said she's tested negative and has no symptoms, made plans to travel to Florida and isolate at an Airbnb.
What? No. Why are you traveling? Why are you going anywhere? You need to go to Florida for what, sweetie?
Something local health officials said last week people would have the option to do.
We want to do this in the least restrictive way possible.
Why?
Yesterday, the Times reported Perryman received a federal order requiring her to stay, saying leaving would constitute a probable source of infection to other people. Perryman, who declined our interview requests, told the Times health officials said they'd contact law enforcement if she tried to leave.
Good. Lock her up.
Needed supplies arrive amid Africa's surging Ebola outbreak. Dr. Peter Stafford, the American surgeon who's tested positive, landing in Germany moments ago to receive specialized emergency care. The missionary group he was traveling with believes he was exposed operating on a patient in DR Congo 1 week before the outbreak was announced.
Yikes.
So he operated on this patient not knowing that there was an Ebola outbreak brewing?
That's correct.
I'm very concerned. I'm praying all the time.
They say Stafford's wife, Dr. Rebecca Stafford, their 4 children, and a third American physician are also under quarantine, as the World Health Organization says it's now tracking hundreds of suspected Ebola cases and deaths.
500.
NBC News.
Wow, guys. I mean, with the Ebola situation, I want to actually reference this plane a little bit more. I want to give you a little bit more information on it. Here we go.
Breaking news overnight. A Detroit-bound flight suddenly diverted to Canada, where a passenger was removed because of Ebola concerns. ABC's Molly Hunter has the details on this breaking news. Molly, what do we know?
What do we know?
That's right. So what we're learning this morning is that Air France says a Congolese passenger boarded a flight in Paris headed for Detroit in, quote, error. Now, at the request of U.S. authorities, the flight was diverted and landed last night in Montreal. U.S. Customs and Border Control now say the passenger should not have boarded the flight because of restrictions in place limiting travel for foreign travelers who had been in the Democratic Republic of Congo, Uganda, or South Sudan in the past 3 weeks. But
So wait, we might have a potential exposure that has now boarded a plane. What happens to the plane full of people?
overnight, the Trump administration has revised those restrictions. And in a new memo, the DHS now directs all flights carrying anyone who has recently been in those countries to enter the U.S. at Washington, D.C.'s Dulles Airport. That is the airport, according to this DHS memo, where the U.S. government is focusing public health resources to implement enhanced public health measures. Now, Craig, meanwhile, health officials on the ground in Central Africa are still working very hard to determine exactly how far this strain of Ebola has spread. The current number of suspected cases is at least 600, according to the WHO.
Wow.
So, Molly, also, what more do we know about the status of that American doctor who tested positive for the Ebola virus?
Yeah, we're learning more this morning. So according to the CDC, Dr. Peter Stafford is in stable condition. That is good news this morning, still being treated at that specialty hospital in Berlin. And we've also learned overnight that his wife, also a doctor, Rebecca Stafford, and their 4 children arrived by ambulance to the same hospital for observation. Another doctor, Patrick La Rochelle, who was also treating patients in the DRC, Craig, who we mentioned yesterday, has arrived at a facility in Prague overnight. Now, the CDC says at this point right now, no one else is presenting symptoms, but they are being very closely monitored. Craig?
Okay, Molly Hunter for us.
Thank you, Molly Hunter. We really appreciate it. I love giving people medical anxiety. There's no reason to be worried about this, ladies and gentlemen. It hasn't touched down. People aren't dying in mass yet. But you know what you should be worried about? Maybe this house in New Mexico, ladies and gentlemen. There's an unknown substance leak that has happened in New Mexico. At some random house on some random street, this random substance has led to the deaths of 3 individuals who were found inside the house, and then 25 people who reported to the scene in order to assist were then hospitalized for strange symptoms. Let's hear it.
We have been working to bring you all the latest details on whatever happened inside this house in Mountain Air. I think we just missed it. It's somewhere there.
You're a great news lady.
Quickly. 3 people are dead, more than 20 others hospitalized.
Well, New Mexico State Police now leading this investigation, and they say an unknown substance is to blame, spread by direct contact. Our Chopper 4 was overhead as fire crews and hazmat teams kept a large perimeter around that house.
Tonight, we are getting more details straight from the Mountain Air mayor. Here's Emily Faith.
They're cooking something crazy.
Me is where 4 people were found unresponsive in Mountain Air Wednesday morning, and it's considered ground zero for a deadly unknown substance. We know that countless people have been exposed as investigators try to put together the puzzle pieces.
There were 3 or 4 bodies that were unconscious at a home. And so my first initial thought was carbon monoxide and natural gas.
The mayor of Mountain Air, Peter Nieto, says he soon learned an unknown substance was to blame. 2 people were pronounced dead on the scene. The other 2 were given Narcan, an overdose reversal drug, and taken to UNM Hospital. One of those died after arriving at the ER.
Yikes.
Within an hour, I was told that multiple EMS workers of ours and of other agencies were going to the hospital due to throwing up, vomiting, headaches, and dizziness.
Then as first responders moved in, 18 of them were transported to the hospital as well, 3 of which are being kept overnight for observation, including Mountain Air EMS Chief Josh Lewis. Even nurses at UNMH were affected as well. In all, 25 people have been exposed. But by what? For now, it's still a mystery.
Is it fentanyl? Is it another chemical? Is it a mixture of the two? That's the question that no one has answers to right now.
But one that Albuquerque Fire Rescue's hazmat squad hopes to help solve, suiting up to sample, decontaminate, and remove the substance from the house. The mayor is asking his community to be patient as they work to learn more.
It's a very scary situation. All we can do is move forward and hopefully find out what it is and make sure that those that are right now in the hospital come out and make a full recovery.
Good mayor comforting the people. He's doing well, honestly, in all honesty. All right, one more headline, and then we will jump over to the things that matter, like the Israeli ultra-Orthodox party threatening to topple the government. That'll be our last story. But Mark Cuban, his drug company, Cost Plus Drugs, ironic name, Cost Plus Drugs, will partner with Trump RX after he endorsed, after he endorsed former Vice President Kamala Harris in 2024 and publicly criticized President Trump, as you well know. There's nothing behind him. There's nothing behind his eyes. It's whatever makes him the most money. He was so disappointed in the season getting canceled back during COVID, not because of exposure risk. He was terrified of the idea that he wasn't going to make money that season. Let's go.
It's pretty remarkable seeing you and Mark Cuban up there, and the fact that obviously Mark endorsed Kamala Harris back in 2020.
Well, he made a mistake. It was a big mistake.
Mark Cuban is facing backlash for partnering with Trump RX after years of slamming President.
Look at him cucking, absolutely cucking Mark Cuban up there, making him shake his hand, go like, yep, you didn't want me to be president, but here you are smiling, standing next to my podium.
Trump as a candidate in office.
I think other than you, I've been the biggest proponent of TrumpRx.com. And the reason for that is Republicans want cheaper drugs, independents want cheaper drugs, Democrats want cheaper drugs, and together, I think we're going to do something special.
In 2024, Trump referred to Cuban as weak, dumb, and a loser, while Cuban attacked Trump as well.
He's right.
That's who Donald Trump is. I've known him for 25 years. He is the most unethical, evil, lacks character, dishonest person I've ever done business with or worked with.
Good self-description.
Plus Drugs is working with Trump RX to bring more than 600 generic drugs to the website.
And what makes this incredible, Mr. President, all the volume and all the people that are going to come from the site, as our volumes go up, our costs go down, which means we'll be ending up charging less to people over a period of time.
And we get another season of Shark Tank.
For the partnership, Cuban posted on X. Everyone wants me to rip on Trump RX. Reality is, it's saving patients money on IVF and a few other drugs. A lot of money. In my opinion, anything that saves patients money is a win.
You know what? Okay, he can work with whoever he wants. He just cannot morally grandstand or tell you who to vote for ever again. He can never tell you who you should support. He should never have it in your mind. Never let Mark Cuban influence you as a thinker ever again. Because there's I'm just going to tell you right here, right now, if you in any way listen to Mark Cuban, you think that he was an intelligent person who saw Donald Trump's ascension to power coming, all of these figures are waiting to just get a deal with the president. All of these figures would be willing to resign off all of their criticisms if they just got a deal. Ladies and gentlemen, our final story involves the ultra-Orthodox party threatening to topple the government. Israel's fragile right-wing coalition, fragile right-wing coalition, goddamn, why Israelis, is teetering on the edge of total collapse following a dramatic revolt by its vital or ultra-Orthodox allies. The political crisis has reached a boiling point after Degel HaTorah, the powerhouse faction within the ruling government, publicly declared that it has lost all trust in Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Infuriated by Netanyahu's failure to secure a permanent military draft exemption for religious students, which is very important to them, the party's spiritual leadership ordered lawmakers to push for the immediate dissolution of the Knesset, effectively threatening to force the early national elections and cut the prime minister's term short. I mean, is it decent news? It's kind of, a little bit. All right, whatever. The idea that they're going to topple the government maybe isn't that fun. You want the government that is managing the strings of your government to be well managed. And I want the Israeli government, as long as they're going to be guiding things for us, I want them to be well managed. does that make any sense to anybody? I want a shadow government to have like at least like a solid leadership basis underneath it. The emergency stems from a deeply divisive, long-running battle over whether ultra-Orthodox men should be legally required to serve in the Israeli Defense Forces. Because if you didn't know, the Israeli Defense Forces, it's been conscription nationalized. Men and women, they have to serve at least, I believe it was 3 years. Following the landmark Supreme Court ruling that struck down the decades-old blanket exemptions, Netanyahu has desperately been trying to pass a new law to shield the religious community from the draft. However, facing a severe military manpower shortage of up to 17,000 troops, Netanyahu admitted that to his allies that he simply does not have the votes in parliament to pass the controversial measure. And the admission backfired spectacularly, prompting the ultra-Orthodox leaders to declare that they would rather take their chances with a new election than remain with a government that cannot protect their lifestyle. So yeah, I love that. I love so much so that it's a society of grabbly behavior. I'm not saying all Jews behave this way. I'm saying that specifically the Israeli government has a way of behaving this way, and more specifically the Jewish community that believes that they deserve exemption purely due to their religious rights. Doesn't matter to me. It's like if you live in that country and you're receiving its benefits, its land that you maybe you didn't steal, but the people before you certainly did. If you're profiting off of that, you should be willing to go out there and fight for it a little bit. A frantic bid to retain control over the political fallout, though, Netanyahu's own Likud party preemptively submitted its own bill to dissolve the parliament, setting up a high-stakes legislative shutdown, while the opposition is aggressively trying to seize on the chaos to permanently unseat the prime minister. Netanyahu has issued a stark warning to his religious partners, arguing that plunging the country into an early election would cause a catastrophic mistake and could be enough to decimate the right-wing bloc entirely. When primary bills to dismantle parliament already advancing, Israel is now barreling toward a potential snap election as early as this September. Let's see.
Israel's wartime government is facing growing instability over one of the country's most divisive issues, military exemptions for ultra-Orthodox Jews known as the Haredim. The
Haredim are the ones that you picture. They have the kids with, the weird teeth and the really long sideburns and I'm just going to tell you, bad fashion sense. It's always like it's the black hat and the kind of Amish look that they all like, the Amish adjacent. All of the young boys, they wear like white button-ups and whatnot. It's very traditional Jew.
For decades, many Haredim men were exempt from mandatory military service while studying in religious seminaries. But after years of near-constant state of war and growing pressure on Israel's military, calls for equal conscription are intensifying. Now the dispute is threatening Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's coalition after one of his key ultra-Orthodox allies reportedly backed dissolving parliament over the issue.
They all agree that what Netanyahu is doing is the only thing that can be done. They all agree that the military should be given pretty much free hand. I think Netanyahu is betting on that, and for that, the ultra-Orthodox are a burden on his neck and around his neck and on his shoulders. That these people, neither the settlers nor the liberals, like the ultra-Orthodox.
The Israeli Knesset is expected to hold a preliminary vote on dissolving parliament on Wednesday, a move being pushed by coalition members themselves in an effort to control and potentially slow the process. Analysts say the crisis reflects growing public anger over military exemptions during wartime, exposing deeper fractures inside Netanyahu's coalition between ultra-Orthodox allies and religious nationalist partners.
I'm sorry, they're spraying. They have a bunch of Hasidics, these people that are in the black hats and all that shit. They have like a big water cannon attached to this fucking truck, and they're shooting them like black protesters in the 60s. This is hilarious. This is kind of awesome. Watching them get like dragged off the street because they're trying to block it for a protest. All this junk is hilarious.
Demanding broader conscription.
I don't know if he's going to run. He may retire. He may, his health is not well. He's not doing well in that trial. Public opinion has turned against him. So I could see a scenario in which he reaches some kind of a plea bargain with the Attorney General, with the state prosecution, mediated by the president.
Well, all I know is there's going to be a lot of kvetching, however you want to look at it, ladies and gentlemen. Let's just call it where we're at. I cannot wait for our Friday broadcast. Believe it or not, I already have quite a bit lined up for it, and there's going to be news to talk about tomorrow. So if you'd like to be there for our Friday broadcast, we do Monday through Friday. Subscribe if you want more, like if you liked it, ring the bell for notifications. In the meantime, folks, I have been Ollie Vogt Larson with your Brain on Air. Thank you so very much for listening. I had a wonderful time. I hope you did too. I'll catch you in the next broadcast. In the meantime, bye-bye.